Today we are going to be talking about the SharkByte system from Fat Shark, and in this video I'm going to give you guys some updates on where the system is today, because since I did my original review the system hasn't stopped there. There has been a number of updates released. Fat Shark have been announcing some information as well, and what I want to do in this video is just talk to you about where the system is today. We're also going to take a look at updating it to the latest firmware as well, because that firmware now includes canvas mode when used with Betaflight, which will allow you to get much more OSD integration with the SharkByte system. Now, since I did my review on the SharkByte, things haven't changed fundamentally. However, the behavior of the manufacturers sort of has. For instance, DJI have moved to pretty much silence. We've had no communication with them about the FPV system at all. They've left users of the V2 goggles with issues activating, and they've also end-of-life the ear unit and moved that to external production with Cadex. However, SharkByte have completely changed the other way. They've been communicating much more with users than I've seen them do in the past. They've been putting out regular blog posts and asking for user feedback on what they want to see on the Fat Shark system moving forward, but as well as their new FPV goggles, including Fat Shark as standard. So it is an interesting situation right now where we have one manufacturer who appears to be pretty much saying their system is as it is and that's it, and Fat Shark really trying to push the development ahead. And really, just to be clear, SharkByte, in my opinion today, still doesn't compete directly with DJI's digital FPV system. If they continue on the trajectory they're on, there is no reason this system won't get there in the future. Anyway, let's take a quick look at what's been going on and the communication from Fat Shark themselves, and then we'll dive into taking a look at the new firmware. Okay, so to talk about the hardware first of all. Now, right now, not a dramatic amount has changed. However, there are some really interesting things in the pipeline. Today, we have the standard receiving ground station unit, which is designed to be used with Fat Shark goggles with HDMI inputs, such as the HDO, the HDO2s, or even my older Dominators that I've got here. But you can also use it with any HDMI input display that you want as well. We have the standard 2-board ear unit with the standard camera, and that is the only camera that I've seen available for this as of today. And they also have the small single board ear unit as well that's now gone into full production too. Whilst that is what the situation is here today, there is a lot of interesting stuff in the pipeline. Talk of a new higher power ear unit, as well as these new digital FPV goggles with SharkByte built in, and they've been asking questions from users around what sort of features you want. For instance, do you want a set of FPV goggles with SharkByte built in to have HDMI input or HDMI output? Do you want the display to show it be able to show other inputs, or do you want to be able to show your SharkByte system that's built into the goggles out to a larger display? Now, Fat Shark have set up quite an interesting system where they've got a mailing list that is sending out regular updates on what the situation is. You can join this on this website here, and I'll put a link to this in the description of the video. And they've been giving regular updates to users on what's been going on with not only SharkByte, but all of the Fat Shark systems as well. For instance, if we jump over to the latest update, they talk about that HDMI input or output issue, and the majority of users they asked wanted HDMI output, which makes sense because you want to be able to share that HD video signal on a larger display for races, etc. They also talk about they keep getting a lot of questions around a new, more powerful ear unit, and they are going to work on one that is 800 milliwatts plus in the future, but it isn't something that's going to be available today. They've also talked about some other things as well. New entry-level digital headset, which is the photo of the Scout HDs, and they're giving regular updates on these blogs about their future products as well. For instance, if we go over to this one here, they've been talking about some new options on the approval of the production of the smaller ear unit, and they've been talking around other things that have come in the latest firmware as well, which we'll discuss a little bit more in a minute. Now, whilst on the hardware side of things, not a lot has changed right now. There is a lot in the pipeline. Software has been making progress as well, and Fat Shark have released a couple of updates for the SharkByte system over the last few months. The latest including canvas mode when using it with the latest version of Betaflight that allows you to get much better OSD integration. In the future, they're going to be adding a pit mode option for the system as well, and hopefully we will continue to see these features improve as time goes on. Now, whilst here and now today, none of these updates make a fundamental change to the system, there is progress being made, and it is much more than we're seeing on any of the other digital FPV systems that are out there right now. Looking at the SharkByte website, you will see that they have all of the latest firmware versions listed, and the latest one is 0904-2021, and that is the date the firmware was released, and that adds support for canvas mode when used with Betaflight 4.2.8. Now, there are two firmwares that you need for updating your SharkByte system, the one for the ground station and the one for the air unit, and we'll take a look at them a little bit more in a minute. They've also updated the manual on SharkByte, which shows you how to set up canvas mode as well, and it simply shows you what you need to do in the CLI to be able to enable that so you can get that new OSD support on the system as well. Okay, so to update the firmware, the first thing we need to do is download the correct files. Now, the website has everything listed. You have the latest update shown, we have the receiver module firmware, and we have the air unit firmware, depending on which one you have, whether it's the double stack, the single board, or the single race one, because there is two versions of that one. So you do need to make sure that you download the right ones, and we need to do this one at a time. So what we're going to do is do the air unit first of all, and then we're going to do the ground module. So we need to download this one here and this one here, which I have already actually done. They're in my downloads folder, and you need to unzip them ready to use and then place the files on your SD card. So what we're going to do is TX 5.1. We're going to take that file, copy it, and we're simply going to place this on the SD card that we're going to place into the module, and then we need to connect the air unit to the ground module via that cable, power them both up, and I'll show you the actual update process now as we do it. Okay, so I've put the files on the SD card and I've put them in the unit. We're then going to get this little cable that comes with the system. We're going to put this into the bottom of the module and make sure that that is pushed in correctly. And then we're going to plug this into that place on the side of the air unit as well. Again, making sure that we get the pins the right way around, because you don't want to force it and get it wrong. And then what we're going to do is power it up, and I'm going to connect the HDMI output onto my display so you can actually see that happening as well. Okay, so what we're going to do now is power everything up and then actually show you the update taking place. So what we're going to do is plug the cable in, hop over to there, and then you can then see that it is now writing the firmware directly to the air unit, and it really is that simple. All we need to do is disconnect the power, and that is the air unit done. Next, we then need to take that file off the SD card, put the other file on for the ground station. This time though, we don't need the air unit connected to that, so we're just going to disconnect that a moment and pop that out of the way. We're going to place the other file on the SD card and do the same thing for the ground station. So we did the TX first of all. We're just now going to do the RX. We're going to copy all of these files, place them on the SD card. Again, then do the same thing. Take the SD card out, put it in the ground station, and fire that up and get it updated. So we're going to put the card into the goggles, making sure you put it in the right way around, because it is easy to get these things wrong. We've again got it connected on HDMI. So when I power this up, you'll be able to see it. So I'm going to switch over to that now. Plug the power in, wait for the system to power up. You can see that it's reading the files, and it will proceed then to update the ground station unit as well. Now I have to say, the firmware update process Fat Shark have is fairly straightforward. I've done it a few times now on the Fat Shark systems, and I've had no problems with it at all. There is an extra step that they've included in the manual if you were to have a bricked unit. However, that's not something I've come across myself, and I haven't seen one myself where people haven't been able to recover it. Overall, the firmware update process has been fairly straightforward. The ground station does take a little bit longer, as you can see on the display. It simply just says right SharkByte. But overall, there's no connecting it really to a PC. There's no dedicated software. Now we're just going to let that do the update because it is taking a bit of time. And then at the end, we'll jump in and just check it's all up and running and finish this one up. So the update is done. It's just time for a reboot. Power it off. Power it back on. And that should be everything done. We'll just wait a second to see if it kicks in. Yeah, it's done a channel scan. Let me just fire the air unit up. Just wait to see if that picks it back up on the scan. There it is. Boom. We're back in action. You can see that we're all up and running. And I've still got the little board attached. So we've got the menu options as well. We still have all of that. So yeah, all done and dusted. Now I'm going to check out the canvas mode after. I haven't had a chance to actually play with that yet. I'll do that later on in another video. Now that is pretty much it for this one. As I've already said, it's really good to see the progress Fat Shark are making, especially the communication with the community. The communication is key. They really are smashing that out the park right now. Really a big kudos to them for that. I'm really interested in seeing how this system development moves forward and how it goes, and I'm going to try and get myself one of these new sets of goggles because my Fat Sharks are ancient. When these new goggles come out, I will I'm going to try and make sure that happens. That's what the goal is. The reality is we're going to be talking a lot less about other systems, most likely on this channel as time goes on. There are some other changes which I'm not going to go into in this video as well, which I'll talk about in a separate one. But yeah, overall, keep watching, keep following it. Great work, Fat Shark. I'm looking forward to seeing where it ends up. Now, if you found this video useful, please do consider hitting the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the little bell next to it as well. If you'd like to support the channel, there are links in the description for things like Patreon. There are links also to buy me a coffee. That is the primary way I'm going to be funding this channel moving forward. There are some things have changed in the past couple of weeks, which I'm going to talk about in a separate video as well. I'm going to put that up probably today too. But yeah, moving forward, if you want to support us, please do check those links out. Thank you for watching. Please do stay safe, and I will update you when there's some new news. I will update you when there is some more news on this in the future.